this will get me views. I used to love BookTube and I would never even watch these videos because I think they're boring. But I just want to chat and I have to sort through some books anyway, so I might as well talk about the ones I'm getting rid of. One I am definitely getting rid of is The Song of Achilles, and this was really well, it wasn't super hyped up, it was moderately hyped up, I'd say a couple of years ago, and I was genuinely really excited about reading it and I liked the cover and all that, and then I read it and it was just so flat. Like, it was just so bland. I just did not care. You've gotta go. I am also getting rid of Ask the Passengers by A.S. King. And I read 2 books by her because they were quite hyped up by like one booktuber that I used to watch. And I didn't mind it. It's just, I've realized that magical realism for the most part is not for me. And the thing I didn't like about this one is that it just, there seemed like there was no point to the magical realism. It's like this girl who lives her life and she looks up and she can see into the lives of somebody in an airplane above her, like random people. And I guess like how maybe their life mirrors hers added something to the overall themes. But to me, it just added nothing to the text and it was really annoying. And I'm never gonna reread this. Looking at it doesn't make me happy, so we're just getting rid of it. Oh god, an old biology flashcard just popped out of one of these. This is a dramatic throwback to The Cell. Wow, I don't need to know this anymore. I'm getting rid of this whole series, which is by Cinda Williams Chima, The Demon King. Like, it's the Seven Realms series. And I really debated keeping this because I know I read the first 3. And I really quite enjoy them. Like, they weren't my favorite. I just know that I was moderately attracted to Han? I don't know how you say his name, but he was hella cute, if I remember correctly. And I never got around to reading the 4th book, and then I just kind of, you know, when you're out of the world, like, that's the issue with fantasy. You can't just pick it back up. But I also can't see myself going back to reread all 3 just so I can read this one, because I just haven't read fantasy for years, even though it used to be the only thing I would read. So I feel like it's better for me to just sell them. I'm also getting rid of Fairest, which is a novella that belongs to the Lunar Chronicles, if you remember them. And I am actually keeping these because I have very fond memories of those. And I know that I'm not sure if I should keep it. Well, I remember reading this and it did add a really interesting backstory to the villain of the Lunar Chronicles. But I just feel like somebody else would be better off having this. Okay, actually, well, put this on the maybe pile. There's no doubt in my mind that I am getting rid of Ready Player One though, because this book, I just remember it being so dull. I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't find the world very interesting. And I really felt like that this was something I was gonna enjoy. But I don't think it's a bad book. I think I just realized that I guess it's quite sci-fi and I just don't enjoy sci-fi. I don't know, I just remember reading it and feeling really miserable. This whole video is just a booktube recommendation graveyard at this point. I like the concept, but there was just something in me that never wanted to finish this. And again, I'm just not into fantasy anymore. Should I keep this? What if I get back into fantasy? Am I gonna get back into fantasy? I'm gonna keep this. Okay. Apparently this is not a video of me deciding which books I will keep. I also don't think I want to get rid of this one. It's One Dark Throne, which is the sequel to Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake, which I don't think this is a particularly, I don't know if I would this is the kind of book where I don't think I would recommend anyone else in my life read it. But the concept was dope and I just remember reading this at the perfect time. And I remember really connecting with one of the characters, and there's no doubt in my mind that I'm keeping this one. But I don't even remember, I guess maybe this one was bad, but yeah, I'm keeping these as well. I am definitely getting rid of Truthwitch though, because it was just another YA fantasy book that I read and that was not very memorable to me at all. I know it either has a lesbian character or a same-sex couple in it, which is cool representation of YA fantasy novel, which, at least judging by the YA fantasy novels I read, which were quite a few, that is pretty rare. So I think this was a cool idea, and I like the concept, but I just knew that I was never going to read the sequel even after I finished this one. Or like by the time the sequel was going to come out, I would have forgotten everything and I didn't like it enough to reread it. So we're gonna sell her too. I'm also definitely getting rid of the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them screenplay, because this was something I just bought in my big Harry Potter phase, which lasted from like age like 11 to 16. And don't get me wrong, I still really love Harry Potter, but it's less of an active part of my personality and life now. And I just got this because it was kind of like a collectible, I guess, you know, with the cover and stuff, but I really didn't like the movie, and I haven't seen this is really dusty, sorry. I haven't seen the last one that came out, and I don't plan on, and I don't think I'm obviously never gonna read this, and looking at this on my shelf doesn't make me happy. So even though it's a cute cover and all that, it's best just to sell it. Same with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It's just, I think anyone who likes Harry Potter has just had to come to terms with the fact that it's over. Like, even if they put up more stuff, it's over. Got the originals. That is all we need. We don't want more. Don't touch, just leave, just don't touch the series anymore. Nobody please touch the series. Let's just leave it. Here's another book BookTube made me read. I don't think it's a bad book. The only scene I remember from it is the main character masturbating in front of his house. Which, okay, out of context, that sounds really bad. He, like, wakes up and he's in his neighborhood, but nobody else is there, and he's trying to figure out what happened. So that's why he's masturbating outside in the rain. I don't know. I just generally don't like thrillers. I think this book is really what put like the final nail in the coffin for me with any kind of thriller, because the build-up is usually really interesting, but the way it's resolved can never live up to everything you want it to be, at least in my experience. I'm sure there are some that are super satisfying and super well written. To me, it's just not worth it. I just don't enjoy waiting for the entire book for something good to happen and then the conclusion isn't even that well thought out. You know, high risk, low rewardment. It's high risk, low reward. So I'm just kind of done with this genre, and I have no second thoughts about getting rid of this book. Like, I'm just happy to see it leave. And continuing on with our booktube trend, I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone and the sequel, and I definitely finished this one, and honestly I think the first couple chapters of this had the potential to become an all-time favorite. Just, I love the magical setup for this series, and I remember loving the characters, like the beginning scenes where the main character is really cringy as described, and it also I think deals with Prague a little bit, and I just remember the atmosphere being so good, and I just loved, like, I love the concept. Things kind of fell apart for me towards the end, and then things got real weird in this one. This is where we leave the... Spoiler alert! As if anybody still gives a fuck. This is where we leave the real world, and then they're like completely in an alternative magical place, and I remember hating the love interest in this. I remember it being one of those super dramatic... oh, what is that word? Didn't we used to have a word for when the characters were too in love too quickly? I feel like that's what this was like. But I genuinely love the beginning so much. I think before I sell this, I might just reread the first couple chapters. Like, these genuinely make me sad. I feel like I could have loved these. RIP. Another booktube book. And she wrote I'll Give You the Sun, which, as I discussed in my ranking young adult books video, which like 2 people saw, I mentioned that I do really love, like, I really loved that one when I read it, and I still have very fond feelings for that book. But I tried to read this one, I think it might have even been last year or so, and that's when I was really quite out of my young adult phase, like I don't like saying young adult phase. where I wasn't really reading YA, and I tried to like it and I really thought I would like it, but it just started off as really angsty and I just couldn't connect with the characters and there was just nothing here for me. Like it just felt a bit too YA. This I'm getting rid of And I Darken by Kiersten White, but I swear this might be the second book in the series. I remember being quite into this when I read it, but the world was never as fleshed out as I wanted my young adult fantasy books to be. Even though I remember the brother-sister dynamic being really fascinating, and I think the main character was just a bit like overpowered maybe. But yeah, I just don't... I mean, it's a pretty cover. I need to stop keeping books I want to sell. I am going to sell it because I will not be rereading it, and looking at it doesn't spark joy in me. Next, I am going to be getting rid of Rupi Kaur's poetry, which yes, at one point in my life I did read, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Okay, I'm gonna keep these because this could be a really good video. So the only other books that I'm selling are... God, I have too many of these. And all the Sarah J Maas ones. So I'm getting rid of ACOWAR entirely. ACOWAR? ACOTAR? A Court of Thorns and Roses. I'm getting rid of all of these. Well, I never had the entire Throne of Glass series because I got them from the library, most of them. But I'm getting rid of these, and I am keeping my copy of Throne of Glass. Because to me, Throne of Glass, and to a certain extent, Crown of Darkness, but I don't own that. They're separate entities. Wait, do I own? Oh, I do have Crown of Midnight. Crown of Darkness. Oh, should I keep Crown of Midnight? Yeah, I'm gonna keep Crown of Midnight. Just because those two are separate entities. That's when she's still Selena instead of Aelin. And I just didn't fuck with Aelin as much, let's be honest, nobody did. So we're getting rid of these